Now I'm going to pose a question here, and you can feel free to unmute yourself or type in the chat box. I'd like to first find out, when was the last time you actually got angry, upset, or frustrated with someone or over something? Love to hear from, type into the chat box. When was the last time, you got emotionally charged? Or all of you have just been really happy throughout? if I see no response in the group chat, that means it's telling me everyone here in this group chat very happy. All right, friend, I can't remember. Long time. Well, that's great, actually. Okay. Oh no, right. This morning. Okay. I hope you feel better after today's session. Okay. What about the rest? Yeah. You cannot remember. It's good if you cannot really remember, because you just don't really take it to heart. You may just brush it off. 3 years back. Okay. All right. So I have a question for all of you. See, all of us at some time, we will definitely get either angry over something or upset or disappointed or frustrated. Okay. And the question is, some of us, especially we quarrel with our spouse, okay, or sometimes, we get annoyed with our supervisor or superior. Oh, why did he say, or why did she say this thing to me? And then you just remember it for quite a while. Now, question is, do we keep these negative emotions for a week? How many of you has been really angry for like a week long? And what if I ask you today, if I can shorten that week long of irritated frustrations, negative emotions down to a few days, would that be good? And if I can shorten that from few days down to even 1 day, would that be even better? And what about, are you sure, Brenda, from just 1 day, I can really chill off and let go of those negative emotions maybe within an hour or two? Now, most of us do not know how to manage our emotions, and there's just so much going on inside us. As such, we tend to just feel negative, emotionally negative for over a period of time. But with understanding and awareness, we can actually cut short that time. Since, quarrels are going to end anyway, frustrations are going to end anyway, why not let it end shorter? Why do we want to let it drag on, isn't it? And the problem is, many of us, we do not have the strategy, or should I say awareness or understanding, to actually shorten that time frame of negative feelings that we are going through. And today, if we have all these negative emotions and feelings that's just inside us, it's actually going to affect our work, our productivity. Now, if we look at statistics, okay, I'm not pulling out any statistics here today, but you can Google it. All right, we can see that when, especially couples, if they quarrel at home, or family members, if they have something negative going on at home, 60%, okay, of productivity issues are due to the result of quarrels that happens at home. Okay, and I can imagine, due to our COVID times, last year into this year, it hasn't been easy, isn't it? As we learn how to deal with work, at the same time, some of us may have kids screaming at the back. Some of us may have, grandparents to take care of, family members, little squabbles here and there. So it's just a lot to handle. Okay, so today I'm going to share with you 3 key emotional themes that are most common in our lives, whether it's work or in our lives, actually impact us day in, day out. Okay, and now today is Monday. How many of you actually feel excited it's Monday? Oh, because it's Monday blues now. All right, I'm actually going to share my screen with you right now. Yeah. So you should be able to see my screen right now. Okay. And if you cannot, just unmute. Just let me know. Okay. So how many of us are excited because it's Monday, yay, or because although it's Monday blues? Yeah. Now, emotions is actually a window to our heart that actually reveals our inner self to us. It shows us our likes and our dislikes, such as Monday blues, or when we see ice cream, when we have ice cream, it just makes us really happy, or a particular flavor that just turns us off. Emotions also tell us about our boundaries. Okay, our boundaries such as, wow, I feel very uncomfortable when I'm in the bus. I feel like even sitting beside somebody, I have certain fears, certain intrusion. That's actually my boundary. And we may also have certain values and beliefs, okay, beliefs from childhood, or through our upbringing, or through the environment that we are brought up in. For example, a belief that goes like, I'm always wrong, I'm not good enough. And all these can actually stir up emotions within us. So the very first theme I'm going to talk about is actually perception. Now, I'm going to start my screen share, and I'm going to invite all of you here. Okay. You can share with me. Now, okay, let me just go back to my screen share first quickly, yeah? Sorry. I'm going to invite all of you, okay, to do this little simple activity with me by typing into the group chat. Now, first and foremost, our perception tells us a lot. Now, I'm going to use this as an example, as you can see on my screen. Results should be. What does results should be means to you? For example, for this person, results should be just in line with objectives. And for this particular person, when they are not, I tend to think the person is stupid. Okay, so that's that person's perception. Now I'm going to invite all of you here, okay, to take a look at work. What is your perception around work? Work should be what? You fill in the blanks. I'm giving you 3 examples here. Maybe somebody will feel that work should be about accomplishment. To someone else, work should be fun. And to another person, work should be all about just adventurous and adventure for me at work. So type in the group chat, what does work means to you? There's no judgment down here. I love to see, what does work means to you? Okay, fulfilling, passion, fun, love that. All of the above, okay? How about the rest? Exciting? Oh, I love this group. You're all very uplifting, huh? How about the rest? Yeah, yeah. So I like to call upon names as well, especially on Zoom. These days it's a bit different face to face, where I have a magic wand, I will point to the audience. But because we're via Zoom, I'm gonna, it's a time for me to also get to know you. I'll call out your names, and love to see you participate in our group chat. Okay, how about Michael or class? Feng Kong? Yeah, love to hear what does work means to you. Joy, great. How about Wei Bin? Or Thomas? Yeah. So we can see over here that this particular group is very uplifting. So I run this question many times. Okay. Fun, great. We have another one writing fun. Okay, and it's really interesting to see based on the environment that they come from. Some of them work for Japanese companies, some work for German companies. Yeah, and the rest, how they respond towards work is different. So over here, let's see. Okay, so we have fun, joy, exciting. Anyone else? Is something different? Meaningful, fun, fulfilling. Okay, satisfactory, great. Now I'm going to ask you another question. Okay, what about boss? What is your perception of boss? Boss should be what? Now, some of you may, I'll give you examples again. Some of you may feel that boss should be empathetic, and that is very important to you. Someone may feel that boss should be open, boss should be fair. Boss should be, really results driven. Boss should be really successful. Okay, so once again, we have different perception around what boss should be. So I'd love to hear from you. Type in the group chat. Tell me, what is your idea? What should boss be like for you? That's really important for you. Take a little bit of time, think about this. Yeah. Don't worry, I know there are bosses in here as well, and it's totally fine. Okay, they're not going to judge you. Okay, boss should be understanding, yes? So teacher and leader, beautiful. Okay. How about the rest? How about Anjaya? Empathetic, give bias, yes. Wow, Wenjin? Wei Bin? Okay, let's see. Boss should be human. Yes, very nicely said. Thank you. Thank you for typing this and share with all of us. Okay, some also see that boss should be mentor. Yeah, boss should be human. Yes, we're all humans, isn't it? Yeah. Question is how forgiving are all of us, huh? Okay. What else? Anyone else have anything to add? Okay, so you can see everyone. Now, based on this simple example, what I've just asked, what is your perception around what work should be and what boss should be? As you can see, all of you are different individuals. What is important to you may not be to another person. Okay, so like if I scroll up the comment box, all right, now to some of you, work has to be joyful, fun. Okay, to someone it's got to be exciting, and to another person it's got to be passionate. If you're not passionate, okay, maybe to you research is something which is very passionate. Now, honestly, for me, research is not my cup of tea. I'm not good in research at all. So if I'm going to be doing research work, it will definitely not be passionate. Okay, but to you, it's passionate, which is great, right? And to someone else, work has to be fulfilling, isn't it? Now, I want to share this simple example. I'm going to go back to screen share right now. Why do I ask this? Now, what is important to you may not be important to someone else. So, for example, now to you, if you put down work, or rather my boss, okay, if to you, you type in, say, what is really important for me is that my boss has to be someone empathetic, okay? And interestingly, currently, the boss you have may be someone who's very results driven. So with that, from the very start, there is already what I call somewhat of a misalignment. Because, and I've done this test so many times to somebody who feels that my boss should be empathetic. And then one day when the boss is going to say, or rather frequently, the boss is going to say, okay, all of you, we need to stay back over time. We have to complete this project. We need to do even more research. We need more data. We need more fixing in the systems. Okay, so yeah, everybody has to stay over time. Now, this boss is just really results driven. But to someone who perceive that bosses have to be empathetic, okay, this person is going to feel, hey, you know what? I think my boss has got no work-life balance. My boss is so results driven that it doesn't really have a heart. I feel that this person doesn't take care of our heart, our feelings, like we are unimportant. So right from the start, the value is really different. And for somebody who values empathy, to you, you may, over time, you may feel angry, emotionally charged, you may feel unimportant, you may feel uncared for. Okay. Now, versus, for example, when I asked all of you to share what does work means to you. So some of you may put work is fun. Okay, when I've done this in other organizations, there'll be people who put, work has to be stable, for example, work has to be all about people. Now, so imagine if work to you is fun, but however, the one you are doing is very routine. And there's a real life case story. An attendee once said to me, work to me is fun, but I actually chose a job for the money and stability. So my work is actually very routine. She's a secretary. So to her, she finds that my work is actually not very fun. It's actually kind of boring because it's very routine, but it's stable. It gives me money. And then she started asking me, so Brenda, do you think I should quit my job? And the best part is she works for a Japanese company. Okay, and specifically for her boss, somebody very structured, very orderly, things has to be in order. So it's very, very routine, very meticulous, it's like very perfectionist. So with that, over time, she starts to feel really unmotivated. She finds the job more and more boring. She starts to get stressed, feel more and more negative. And there are times where she'll just clash with her boss as well because her boss just wants things to be done orderly, but yet there is no excitement in the work that she's doing. So with these, it causes emotional charges in us. So the way we perceive things, actually reflects how, it creates cause and effect in the way, things happen around us. So I first want to talk about perception, which over here is a, definition, right? Perception, what is this about? Perception of any situation is based on the boundaries we've actually set for ourselves. And these boundaries, right, they actually reside in the events of our past where we form assumptions about the way things should be. All these assumptions would come from our parents, social norms, our school. So as we grow older, all these assumptions becomes encoded. For example, the first picture, if you are brought up in an environment where, to survive, you have to collect trash, find stuff within the trash. What kind of boundaries do you have? What kind of belief systems do you have? You may have a belief system that, I have to work very hard to survive. Or you may have a belief system that I'm going to do anything to be successful to get me there because I have nothing to lose. So you can imagine this person when he goes to work. Let's say he's out of this environment and he goes to work in corporate, in your organization, for example. This person may be so strong, whatever the boss says, he will say, yes, I will do it. It doesn't matter. But on the other hand, this person may also feel, I'm not good enough. I have to work really hard. Every time when the boss gives me a command, I'll get really, really upset, emotionally angry because I'll feel that I'm not good enough. Right? So you can see our perception forms, certain beliefs, and it creates certain emotions and feelings within us. And our media that we used to watch from young, Cinderella, Snow White, we believe in happily ever after fairy tale. We're promised the fantasy that the prince is going to come and rescue you. Okay. And what happens when you go into a relationship? It doesn't quite always be happily ever after. Yeah. In fact, you go through a lot of power struggle and quarrels before, relationship can stable, and even married couples, they still go through their ups and downs. And as such, what happens? We get a lot of disappointment. And especially now, teenagers, even more, even adults, they like to binge on Korean dramas. In Chinese, we call Hong Hong Lie Lie. Okay, what does that mean? It means that dramatic. Life is drama, emotional high and downs. Yeah, and we play that out in our work, in our relationships. And we wonder why we are so emotionally charged. We sometimes play out certain stories in reality. And also, the culture that we are brought up in has formed certain beliefs, certain traditions. For example, in the olden times, in Thailand, for example, back in Siam, women, when they are married off to the man, all right, did you know that the women are considered very much almost like an object? If the man doesn't like you, the man can sell you off as a slave or into the prostitution, or the man can also cane you as a woman. So imagine that kind of belief system women has for themselves back then. Yeah, they think, the old belief system is, well, woman is second, right? And woman is worthless, they're useless. So there's a lot of all these that goes on, and as we grow up, it causes a lot of cause and effect. All right. So you can imagine now currently at work, from the same boss or same manager or supervisor that you have, it's going to say, everyone, please come back within these 2 weeks to complete the project. There's not enough time, you're not doing it well, you have to do it. All of you here, okay, on Zoom. Now, I'm just going to take 2 examples, 2 staff, but you have 2 different responses. One staff is going to say, okay, chill, I'm going to come back and do my work. Yeah, we didn't complete, we just need to get it done, right? But another staff is going to feel, this boss is a slave driver, it's unempathetic, all it thinks about is just achieving the results, doesn't think much at all, or doesn't care about us, 2 weekends burn, and it's not giving me compensation. You can see 2 people, 2 different responses. Why? Because our perception, our beliefs and values behind us are different. All right. And so with all these, it creates different emotional stirs. So at the beginning of the talk, I'm going to share a little bit about this psychology, these themes, to help us understand what creates all these emotional stirs. And at the back of it, I will share with you tips on how we can better handle emotions. So I'd like to leave you with the first quote. There is no right way to feel in every situation because our emotion is actually innocent. It is our response that actually matters. Okay, so emotion is actually innocent. It's just about how we feel inside. You may not have a word to describe even how that feels. In fact, your body may react first. Your heart may feel cringe. Oh, what is this feeling? I cannot understand. Or like, oh, I feel heat coming out. Wow, my face is flushing red. You cannot understand that, but you know that it's not a positive feeling. And how you respond to that, which is your reaction, actually matters. Are you level-headed, or are you going to react so much that you're going to regret after that? So here is a simple tip I'd like to share with you. Now, firstly, is to uncover all these automatic thoughts that comes up. And if you can change these thoughts, okay, those thoughts can change the emotion that follows, that will result in a more productive behavior. So most stress actually comes from how we perceive or interpret events. Now, it will take time. It's not something that's going to, wow, overnight, you can uncover all these automatic thoughts. Because why? We due to our environment, our media, our upbringing, our education, our friendships, all these has formed different memories inside us, has formed all these perceptions. And all these perceptions, which are uncoded assumptions, are so-called your automatic thoughts that keeps coming out, that triggers us. But we start somewhere. So my tip for you here is you may want to begin by asking yourself, sometimes at work you get very triggered, like, something just bugs me, especially when I talk to my boss, or especially this particular colleague. Oh, when I'm at home, I'm working, and then, my spouse or my grandma or my mother, it just really triggers me. Now you want to ask yourself, what are some of the old beliefs you have around work, boss, and environment? And you may want to give yourself new affirmations and start practicing them. So for example, just now I asked you, what is the old belief you have around boss? Someone wrote, for example, boss should be fair. Now I'm going to ask you the same question. If you are going to be a boss, will you be fair? Why is fairness important for you? If you have an old belief that, I'm not good enough at work, or I'm a perfectionist at work, and you have to ask yourself, is it when you're too perfectionist, do you end up taking much more time needed to do your work? And because you always end up taking more time, you always get scolded by your boss for being too slow, for example. Okay, so you got to give yourself new affirmations. So be very aware of these thoughts that triggers and practice them. Okay, and some of things we cannot change. You have to ask yourself, can you accept or can you not? For example, you have this boss, this new boss that comes in, okay, very, very task oriented. You can't change your boss. So the question is, can you or can you not accept? If you cannot accept, then you have to decide what to do with your work, right? If you learn to accept, the sooner you learn to accept, you start to change the way you look at things. All right. Okay, I'm just taking a look at the group chat as well. Yes, and someone also shares, current responsibilities also make different reactions. Yes, indeed. So everything is all encompassing. Everything is interlinked. Okay, so all these plays a part. All right. Now, I'm going back to my screen share. Now, the second theme I'm going to talk about is emotional dependency. Okay. So I'm going to share with you a particular two scenarios. I'm going to share with you the first scenario. Now, something which is very common, for example, you submitted your project to your boss this morning. You put in so much effort, so much heart in doing this project. It's a very big project. Okay. And after lunchtime, your boss went to your department, gathered everyone, started talking about this project, and only mentioned about your colleague's project that was so well done and great insights. Now, at that moment, you actually felt, how come my boss didn't mention about my project? Now you begin to feel something weird inside. Your heart starts to cringe, or you're having flushes, or you're like sweating. You start to feel negative. Okay, what's going on down here? For example, you start to feel anger, fear, or nervousness, whatever emotions that you're going through, you may not be able to express it. Okay, what is happening here is when your boss did not mention your project, one of you here, or maybe someone else that may potentially be feeling, I also want to be recognized. How come my project wasn't mentioned? And it's a moment where you may have significant needs. And there's nothing wrong with you needing significant needs. Now, I'm not doing a childhood healing therapy session here right now, okay? But it's important for all of us here to recognize all of us have needs. We all need love down here, okay? And specifically for work, in this scenario, when my boss didn't mention about my project, after I put in so much effort, only talk about my colleagues' work, you feel that you really needed recognition. You needed significant needs. That was important for you. Person number two, someone else, in that same pair of shoes, may be feeling unimportant. The person may be feeling, oh, I also want to feel valued. How come my project is not being mentioned? Somehow I feel that I'm not important at all. Only my colleagues' work is being mentioned. And the third person, someone else, may feel otherwise. Okay, my project is not being mentioned. Maybe I'm not good enough. Yeah, actually I'm looking for assurance, like what I wish. Oh no, maybe oh no, is it going to affect my promotion? Is it going to affect my MBO, management by objectives? Like, oh no, am I not going to get a good rating? Oh, so you have these things going through your mind. Now, when that happens, you have an emotional dependency need. I'm going to come to you in a while. I'm going to go to a second scenario. Second scenario, now you got really upset. You text your spouse, your girlfriend, or your boyfriend. Okay, you send a WhatsApp message. Hey, darling, I'm feeling really upset today. Do you have some time to talk to me? I really need to talk to you. And then your loved one did not reply you for 3 hours. 3 hours, no response. Now, at this point in time, in the last 3 hours, your mind starts to run. How many of you experienced that before? You text somebody, your loved one, and then your loved one never responds, and you get really agitated. So what crosses your mind now? Did he reply me? 3 hours, what's wrong? I feel like he doesn't love me enough. Why never respond to me? Another person may feel, okay, I'm unimportant, right? Like, what is more important than responding to my WhatsApp? 3 hours, can't you just reply me? And then to another person, the person may feel really insecure. Are you with someone else? How come you didn't reply my messages at all? How can it be 3 hours? I can't really seem to trust you. So many things goes through our mind. Now, when this happens, same thing, we have an emotional dependency. Okay? So, what is really emotional dependency here? In short, when we have all these emotional triggers, whether it was a work scenario or this relationship scenario, in short, you need another person to feel happy, to feel loved, secure, significant, or important. So his or her reactions actually influence every emotion of yours. Okay, so what is really emotional dependency? It is actually a state of mind where a person has difficulty taking full responsibility for own feelings. So we lose irrationality in situations like this. We do experience all these anger, sadness, anxiety, but at that time, we just cannot control it. We cannot embrace, accept, or nurture all these feelings. So we tend to rely on all these people to feel happy. So I'd like to share the second quote with you is our happiness is not dependent on other people's response. Our happiness is not dependent on how or whether you message me back or not. So what we tend to do is we tend to relate. So we need to learn, just a tip, we need to learn how to unpack this emotion. Be a friend with your emotion to understand it better. So that we can have control over our second thought and not let it run, the whole day. So I'd like to give you 3 questions here that you can always practice. When you feel that there's something that you're really uncertain about, you feel triggered at work or in your love life or even with your kids or family, you feel kind of lost, you're just feeling negative. You got to first ask, what am I feeling? Okay, let's take the work, for example, right? The work scenario. Okay, I submitted my project to my boss, and then he didn't respond to me after lunch. Like, oh, didn't even read my proposal to everyone or talk about it. What am I feeling? Okay, I'm actually feeling very disturbed. And if you cannot put a word to describe what you're feeling, it's fine. You just need to acknowledge, yeah, it's not a good feeling. Okay, many of us cannot describe feelings. I mean, I've been working with different clients. Some of them are like, wow, really senior management level, and they cannot describe what that feeling is, which is normal. Okay, because we're never quite taught in school to describe feelings. So the first question after you ask, what am I feeling? Okay, I'm feeling disturbed. Now, what do I need? In this case, well, I needed to feel acknowledged or praised that, my proposal was good. I put in so much effort. I worked until like 3 a.m. almost every night, right? So that's what you need. Okay. And what do you want? So these two things is actually serving your needs and your wants. So what do you want? Well, actually, I want my boss to announce to the department or talk about it too, publicly. And here comes the third question, is actually the real scenario that you're facing. What will I do if I don't get what I want? So it's helping us to think rationale rather than to let the emotions run wild. This is the point where you say, what will I do if I do not get what I want? What will you do? Okay, I will follow up and ask my boss what he thinks about my proposal. That's it. Don't dramatize. Don't create even more questions for yourself. You need to be clear. What do you want if you do not get what you want? Go find out. Okay, most of us will say we'll go and find out. Great, so go and find out. And you'll be surprised, after all, your boss is just going to tell you, you know what, I've not read your proposal. So we need to learn to take responsibility of this emotion and not fall into an emotional dependency situation. Number 2 tip, we need to look at the global scheme of things, right? So think about this, it was just after lunchtime, your boss did mention your colleague's proposal. Have you thought about this? You gave it to him in the morning, but in actual fact, it's because he went into multiple calls, meetings. Your colleague's project was picked up first for review, simple as that. So we don't dramatize, okay? And for someone who feels that, okay, maybe I'm not good enough, my project is not good enough, it doesn't mean that he thinks you're not good enough. It doesn't mean that he doesn't recognize you. It doesn't mean that he doesn't think your work is fantastic, right? But we tend to emotionally link to it. Yeah. So the question to ask is, what could possibly happen? When we start asking upper mental thoughts, upper mental question, what could possibly happen? It's allowing us to, okay, stop that reaction now. Okay, remember, it's our response that matters, right? Stop that reaction and think about how we're responding to it. Okay, I'm feeling emotional. All right. Now, what could possibly happen? Write it down if that helps. Okay, now the scenario number 2 about the relationship part, right? Where, okay, I texted my boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, whatever, for 3 hours, didn't respond, and I'm feeling miserable. Have you thought about actually that person that you're messaging is in the middle of work, in the middle of discussion, has been called into the boss's office, or maybe it's in the middle of a focused strategy thinking, or maybe it just didn't sleep well and not feeling well and just resting in bed, or just having a day off from mobile phone, social media, and phone detox. It just so happened it's within that 3 hours. So we tend to relate. You never message me means you don't like me. You never message me means I'm not important. I'm not valued. You never message me means you're with someone or I cannot trust and making me insecure. So you have to manage your emotions. These are your emotional dependency needs. Okay, so always ask what could possibly happen. All right, and here's a very important part. Now, when you see there's a repeated trend, okay, I mean, I've been doing this, psychology strengthening for my clients, right? And we can see that it becomes very repeated, right? Because we've been brought up in this way since young. So we can become irrational, and some of us gets really irrational. And that's why that's why in reality, some of them get so irrational. There's this light inside us that's blinking. Your mandala keeps blinking. Okay, when it blinks, puts them out of control, and that's why they harm the other party, and that's how you can read about murder cases. Okay, they go into serious anxiety attacks, serious depression, and they find it really hard to stop. Of course, this is the extreme situation, and this is where self-sabotaging needs to stop. You're self-sabotaging yourself, but many of us do not even realize. So today I felt it was really important in this session, not a typical talk about, how do you manage emotions, but really to help us understand the psychology behind it, what really triggers us most of the time. Okay, so in cases like this, I highly encourage engage in a talk or pain therapy, whether it's with counselors, life coaches, therapists, or like myself. And we help you to unbox, help you to make friends with the emotions, and help to put you back on track. Okay, I'm going to stop screen share for a moment and just taking a look at the group chat. Yeah, okay, when she's shopping, she is shopping. Okay, and I have another message here. Is there any possibility to become independent of emotional dependency? Yes, you can become independent from your emotional dependency. So great question from one of you here. And this is exactly where one of the best options I highly recommend is to see a counselor, a talk therapist, a life coach. So even for myself, though, I do life coaching for clients, okay, even I myself, I've seen counselors before to work on it, okay, because we are in the forest, and sometimes it's really hard to see the trees. And even if we know intellectually, okay, to know intellectually, but to behave, it takes time to change. Behavior takes time to change. Now I'm going to share with you, for example, like I used to get very irritated with my mom. Okay, there's just certain things that she do, it just irritates me as a child, right? So I grew up, I said, when I'm going to have a boyfriend, I make sure I don't behave like my mom. And when I have a boyfriend, right, in one of the years, I realized, oh my goodness, why am I behaving like my mom? I'm over nurturing my boyfriend. So I have emotional dependency. I get so irritated, like how come he doesn't listen to me? Like I felt it was my responsibility to take care of him. I thought it was just my responsibility to take care of him all the time. So when he doesn't do something right, I just get really, really upset and angry. And sometimes how we do anything is how we do everything. How we respond to relationship, we do the same at work and in life. So I was very shocked. I thought I was so aware intellectually, but how can I do the same even at work? I mean, in my relationship, I thought I would never be like my mom. So I went to see a counselor to help me understand and change my belief system. Okay, so I don't become a victim of my own issues. It changed my value, the way I perceive things. So the first theme was what I spoke about. It was about perception, right? How we perceive things. It will take time to change. But my first tip, because it's a short talk today, the tip I can give you, do your own affirmation. Give yourself a new belief system of something that you used to have before. And I don't think that's going to serve you anymore. Give yourself a new belief statement, affirmation. Okay, and I'm just looking at the last one. Is it better to speculate on all the possibilities or to just not speculate at all? Okay, it's better to speculate on the possibilities, right? Because if you don't speculate, if your mind can become great, but most of us, when we get irrational, when we get negative, we start to think of all things possibly negative. Okay, for example, just talk about the relationship part. I think my boyfriend is with someone else. I think I cannot trust him. Maybe he doesn't really like me now. I think maybe that's why he doesn't bother to respond back to me. I think he's just going out doing other stuff. Like, maybe he finds me irritating now. You see, we're speculating, but on the negative side. Yeah. Oh, I think my boss doesn't like me. My boss irritated me. My boss speaking on me. Maybe he's going to scold me or tell me off about my project I've submitted. Or maybe I did a horrible job. Oh my goodness, there's so much in the head that's going on and on and on. Oh, tiring, right? Who has experienced that before? Okay, so to Young Hao's question, if I use the word speculate on possibilities, I'm talking about the good possibilities, not on the negative side. Of course, the worst case scenario, something may really happen to that person. You never know. Okay, that's the worst case scenario. All right, I'm going back to my screen share. Okay, you should be able to see my screen right now. Okay, and the third screen share is about colored curved balls. Now, this is the part where, in life, that's why it's called life, right? We're being thrown different colored balls. Okay, coming to us. Some red colored balls was thrown to us last year. This year is a different color ball, still the same thing like COVID, right? Okay, it's just coming in different colors, but same, huh? And we need to learn how to deal with it. So different colored curve balls, and I like to talk about more work specific here, since the topic of work and success. Now, how many of you have ever experienced difficult people at work? Maybe your organization is great, okay, but typically when I run this question, it's like 100%. Everyone, hands up, yes, we have experienced difficult people at work, right? Yes. How many of you gets worried that you get attacked during presentation? It sounds terrible to say attack, but the truth is, many of them have said the same thing. Oh my God, yes, I get attacked. Like, oh wow, I felt like I was being pinpointed. I felt I was like being interrogated during presentations. Yeah. And how many of you actually get so pissed off and you actually let this affect your work? Okay. I'm going to share with you a real life example. Somebody that I know for a long time, I'm very familiar with. Okay, she's actually a manager working in a hospital. Okay. And a group of colleagues always provoke her. In fact, she calls them her enemies. All right. Yeah, her enemies. and she finds them really difficult people. Now, can she change them? Maybe, but it will take a long while. But can she change how she chooses to respond to them? So I'm going to show you a screenshot right now. Please pardon spelling errors because it's via WhatsApp. So she asked me, right? She texted me, how can she change her negative thinking, So she texted me, hey, Brenda, what about breathing exercise to clear the negative thought? I want to take away negative thought with a clear mind, then I can think better, then not so frustrated. Now, when she texted me this, I knew right away, okay, and I deliberately texted her back in this way because I knew it would trigger her because I know her so well. So I just gave her a one-liner reply. Then breathe, right? Then breathe calmly. So she got agitated already, right? True enough. I asked you give me this answer. Okay, it was quite funny. But I knew that was what I wanted to trigger. I was waiting for that response from her. So I told her, I said, see, you reacted. I expected you to. And I told her, you cannot change your first reaction, but when you breathe deeply, you take a step back. You are aware now as you breathe. Yeah, you react very fast, I was telling her. So you need to breathe more to know that it is okay to chill. Okay? So I told her, everything has no meaning until you give it one. And this is your golden message to help you clear your mind. And I told her, I can poke you so easily just by one liner. Your enemies can do the same just to make you angry. Okay, so in this scenario, she gets triggered very easily. She's got very, very bad temper. Yeah, and it was just so easy for me to just trigger her. So I like to share this with you. Everything has no meaning until we give it one. Okay, everything has no meaning until we give it one. So imagine, you're going to do a presentation, let's say something really difficult. It's going to be a difficult group, for example, and someone just triggers you, say something like, tries to be funny and make things difficult. You take a deep breath in a moment. Observe your thoughts. You got to ask yourself, when this person triggers you, is it your ego talking now that you too want to defend back? Yeah. Versus you switch the way you think. How about, you know what? I have an opportunity to prove myself. I'm prepared for whatever they throw at me. If you go into that mindset, you're likely to be more energized and ready to perform versus having a defensive mode. Oh my, I'm going into this meeting, okay? And then falling trapped to your own ego, like, oh, this person is speaking on me again. And then you may end up saying something regrettable. And as that happens, right, you go in, it further shakes your posture, your tone, your confidence, whether it's in Zoom presentation or it's in, meeting rooms. Okay, so the trick here is, what are you focusing on? Focus on those who loves you, cares for you, who deserves your attention, or focus on that one person or those who dislike you. Yeah. So always observe in situations like this, everything has no meaning. You choose to give it meaning. Now, I remember I have a working colleague. Okay. He exercises a lot of superiority. Yeah, superiority complex. And he has a tendency to put people down. So when I was doing partnership with this friend, right? Let me just stop the screen share. So I was doing partnership with this friend. It was a working colleague. He likes to somehow halfway just be very condescending, exercise superiority. That's very important for him. Now, if we are doing working partnerships together, imagine if every time he does that, and I'm going to get triggered emotionally, and I'm going to be nasty back, or try to defend back or attack back. Do you think it's going to end up well? No. So for me, everything has no meaning, right? Until I give it meaning. So for me, I just need to tell myself, you know what, there's no meaning to this. That one is your own story. It's his story. It's a story of lack of love, the need for, he just needs to display that superiority because it makes him feel better. So I put my ego in the box, I put it aside. It's okay, I just need to tell myself, everything has no meaning at all. There's no meaning for me. He purposely do that. There's no need for me to respond. And I'm not angry or irritated at all. Right? In fact, inside me, I practice a lot of empathy and compassion for this person because if I look at it, he is the one who has this emotional dependency. Can you see this a negative emotional dependency? He's depending on me to respond back to make him feel better, but I'm not responding. Okay, so this is a little high level. Everything has no meaning until you give it meaning. So likewise, even if you look at the earlier examples that I shared with you, right, we talk about emotional dependency. Everything has no meaning as well. Your girlfriend, your spouse, your partner who didn't respond back to you in 3 hours, it has no meaning. Don't give it meaning. If you give it meaning negatively, it would be, oh, I'm feeling insecure. Oh, I think she may be cheating. Oh, it doesn't love me. Oh, I'm not important. Oh, this person doesn't value me. You see, they're giving meaning to things. Right? When your boss doesn't respond to you, oh, your boss asks you to work overtime. Oh my God, my boss doesn't care for me. My boss is personally attacking me. My boss is this and that. You see how much meaning we give to things when actually it can have no meaning. It's as simple as that. But you know what? Human beings, we like to dramatize. Okay, so I watch less Korean dramas as well. Okay. All right, I'm coming back to screen share. I hope you found my sharing interesting so far. Okay, back to screen share. Okay, so with all that I've shared, these 3 key themes, okay, different curveballs as well. I mean, curveballs can be from work, can be relationship, it can be even, we can experience sadness through what? Through funeral, right? Through COVID news, through a natural disaster. So many things can happen. So I like to share with you, 5 tips on managing our emotions. And number 1 is make a friend. Okay, make a friend with your emotion. And number 1 is to first observe your thoughts. Like I say, everything has no meaning at all until you observe. Okay, my first reaction is emotionally very charged. Okay, what's going on in my mind? Observe your thoughts first. What is this sensation? Observe the sensation. Wow, I feel really like high blood pressure coming. Wow, the blood raising. Oh, I feel my body heated up. And then you feel like, I feel like I want to punch somebody. Observe all the what's going through. I feel I really want to kill someone. Let me tell you, young kids are very aggressive. They actually say, I feel like I want to kill someone. And I can tell you, the more computer games kids play, because a lot of killing, only on games they can kill, right? They keep planting these seeds of killing. So when something happens at school or even talking to parents, they have so much aggression. They feel like, I want to kill you. Observe that. Yeah, make friends with that emotion. Why do you want to kill? Why so angry? Why are you so angry over something like that? You need to be so angry of killing someone. You need to study. All of you are adults here. Okay, so you should ask yourself these questions, mature questions. Why am I so angry? Does it really warrant such amount of anger? Where does it come from, right? So as you start to observe first, and then number 2, practice very deep breathing. Okay, with both palms at the heart. I'm going to share with you in a while how do you do that. Okay, you're going to practice very deep breathing to calm yourself down. Okay, most of the time, unless it's a face-to-face confrontation, otherwise very often, okay, if we are on our own, if we're so angry, we want to send an email reply. Today is not just face-to-face communication, right? Today is also just email, like, wow, I got this email, I'm going to shoot you an email back. Make me so angry. Huh? Right, before you shoot an email back, okay, observe first. If it's not in a hurry, don't reply. Put it aside 2 hours, then you reply. But we tend to respond, then call another colleague. Hey, I received this nasty email from another department. My goodness, they're like accusing us. Calm down. Sounds familiar, right? Okay. Calm down first. You gotta ask yourself, okay, observe. Okay, take a few deep breaths. So I want to do a body somatic. So you put 2 palms here. Okay, I can't see everybody except a beautiful face of Frida here. All right. Now everybody, if you put 2 palms here, put it at your heart space area. Yeah, just at the middle of the heart. Okay. So when you breathe, this is a somatic exercise. Okay, when you just put it at your heart space area. Okay, you can see me, heart space area. And you breathe into all that you are experiencing. You may not be able to explain what that emotion or feeling is like. And I bet all of you to do this with me. Okay, today is Monday. Now I know it's some Monday blues for some of us, even though you don't stay up. Okay, but I know, and for the rest, it's exciting Monday. Great. But breathe into all that you're experiencing right now. You can close your eyes. You can breathe it out. So our body is a very powerful tool because our body picks up all these emotions inside us, all that we are experiencing. And you will realize, some of you, naturally, you end up taking much deeper breaths, much deeper than you would imagine. Like, naturally, you go even deeper as you do that, and you release all out. Versus, you try to breathe in deeply, it's very different. But if you really put your hand here, you're so connected to the heart, to all that you're feeling inside. You realize you go even deeper into your breath, slowly to release all the anxiety, irritation. So I do this with my clients, even for the first time, they do it a few times. Some of them will start to tear. Okay, some of them will produce certain noise because it really let go, the very stored emotions inside us. Okay, so you can take your time. If you do yoga, some of you don't do yoga, you can also practice counting, breathing in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you breathe out 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, all the way to 1, very gently and slowly. So you do that about 3 to 5 times to really calm your nerves down. Why do I do this? Because inside our brain, we have this amygdala. Okay, it is like a ambulance alarm. Okay, and it triggers. And when it triggers, the faster it triggers, the more irrational it becomes. And when it triggers so fast, that's how people get anxiety attack. So I do women prison voluntary work. Okay, I can tell you majority of the female prisoners, they are on psychiatric pills because majority of them, they used to take drugs. They get a high, emotionally, very emotional. But the minute they are laid off from the drugs, emotional highway for many of them. Okay, so when we get them to do very deep breathing, it actually helps to calm that nerves down. That's why many of them irrational, very out of control. And we need to do this somatic exercise to actually calm down the nerves. If not, they can, they can do, quite drastic things, quite out of control. Right, I'm going back to my screen share, and I'll address any questions that I can have later. Okay, so make friends with your emotion, observe. Number 2 is deep breathing. And number 3, which I found it really highly effective, is journaling routine. Now, you don't do this only when you are angry. Yeah, you're not looking to find a miracle pill. Brenda, I was hoping to get a miracle pill. Wow, the minute I'm angry, how do I calm right away? I'm going to say sorry. Unless you're very, very aware, okay, you'll be very good in calming your emotions. But many of us, for the first time, okay, or maybe after a very long time, are we really learning about emotions? Okay, it takes time and practice, right? So why journaling? Because day in, day out, we go through so much at work, at home, with kids, with loved ones, or life situations. Okay, when we start to journal, okay, every day we're allowing ourselves to transfer all these frustrations, negative thoughts, thinking that we have onto paper. It's like diary. Versus everything is stuck in the head, so much worry, so much concerns. Yeah, I've got friends, so many of them, there's a lot of worries and a lot of concerns, and then they end up having sleepless nights, sleep apnea, or they wake up in the middle of the night. And the minute they wake up in the middle of the night, they get upset, they cannot sleep, they start thinking, and then they go to work unproductive. What happens when they're unproductive? They lose their cool, they get emotionally charged, angry, irritated over little things. So you can see everything is interconnected, it's spiral. Yeah, so one of the ways is to journal. So I tell people who have sleep issues, put down on a piece of paper beside your bed, write down 3 things: how I'm feeling, what's bothering me. I don't have an answer to what I need to sort out now, but it's okay. I will revisit that tomorrow. So you're transferring this thought here, oh my goodness, how do I sort this out? I really don't have an answer. Should I do this? Should I not? You don't have an answer thinking about it to sleep, right? So you tell yourself, you set an intent, you write it down. I don't have an answer now. I will revisit that tomorrow when I wake up. So you have transferred that thought into paper. Now you go to sleep. Okay, I've done this many times and people have feedback. They sleep better. Okay. Now, the last two tips, which is quite hand in hand, okay, it's by having mature, mindful conversations and mindful, deep listening. Now, just take a look at this screenshot. Okay, it's a WhatsApp message, right? So this friend of mine texted me, hey, how's your day? Do you have time to talk now? I need to bounce an idea off you. And then within 20 minutes, I guess you're not concerned about me, it's okay. Hey, does this just look like the earlier scenario I shared with all of you about emotional dependency? Yes. So this person is a guy, by the way. It's a friend. Okay, it's a friend, right? It's probably having a bit of an emotional time. Now, I left a voicemail back. Okay, I left a voicemail back, which was about 11 plus. Now, if I was gonna react, if this was a boyfriend or girlfriend, this person would just react back, right? What are you talking about? Why not concern me? People will tend to react this way, right? Yeah. But you can see how our own emotional needs, we play these things out, right? I haven't even respond, you already respond back. I guess you're not concerned with me, it's okay. Someone not my boyfriend, my friend. Okay. So have mindful conversations. And in this case, a mindful deep listening. Now, if I practice real mindful deep listening here, listen to the real intent instead of whether I'm defending or attacking. What is the real intent of this person? This person truly needs to talk to somebody, okay? And this person is feeling emotional currently. And this person needs some love, some tender, loving care from a friend. That's it. Okay, so listen to but if I'm sorry, I need to be unmuted.
Sorry, I actually.
Okay, yeah, all right. So can you hear me now? Yeah, great. So I need to practice deep listening. Now, if this person was talking to me face to face via WhatsApp, I need to listen deeply, but most of us, we tend to react. So if I listen deeply, actually this person, is maybe not having the best of day. Maybe it's just needing some tender loving care. Maybe just something bugging this person and we need your presence moment, right? So that's his story, is not my story. So it's for me to take a chill. Okay, and let's have a mindful conversation. So for me is to say, well, hey, I'm so sorry that you're feeling this way about, me not showing concern. I'm sorry. I was actually caught out in a meeting. My phone rang and I had to go on a meeting. As such, I could not get back to you. I understand you have an interesting idea you want to bounce off with me, So I'm able to talk in that tone. Have mindful, mature conversations. So what is mature, mindful conversations? One of the most common thing I always tell everyone is to fact find first before you jump to conclusion. Be curious, don't judge. Always be curious first. Don't judge. He doesn't love me. I'm not good enough. He doesn't care for me. He thinks I'm lousy. All these things are all judgment, right? Fact find first. Why do you not read my proposal? Why do you not reply my message? Why, fact find why this person thinking this way, right? We always want to find out what really happens. And then you decide how you want to respond later. Okay, and when we say mindful conversations, just this morning I received a text just before our talk here. So this lady texted me, hey, you know what? I got scalded on my hand, okay? A few days ago, my husband didn't even say anything. He just scolded me, why so careless? And then I had a fish bone stuck in my throat. Instead of being concerned, he just said, go and drink water. And I was so angry, I picked up my bag and I went to the A&E myself. Right. So my friend was telling me, Brenda, what should I do? I'm so upset. Right. And so I asked, and then when I started asking her deeper, and she said, well, actually, I think my husband is unhappy with me over some other stuff. And that's why I think he's behaving this way towards me. So I said, there you see, there's a certain reason why your husband did not show you that loving care that you wanted, that sign of concern, right? I mean, scalding your hand, getting a fishbone in your throat, serious, not going A&E. So I said, have mature, mindful conversations with your husband, because you both work together, and it's obviously affecting your work now, right? So I said, you're going to show example. You're going to show him, how you lead by example. You're going to talk to him first and tell him that, I think you're unhappy with me over certain situations. What's the story in your head? Talk to him nicely versus attacking or defensive. right? And tell him that you feel sorry that you may have, made him really upset. You do not know what that is. Have a talk about it, right? So you take the example, take the lead first. And after that, you can then talk about how you have also felt upset because you wish to be more loved and more cared for over the scalding and a fishbone situation. Mindful conversations doesn't mean screaming and yelling at each other. Okay, they were having unmindful conversations when the husband just said, "Go and see a doctor," you're just going to drink some water. That's very unmindful, unloving. All right, so I like to leave you with this quote. Fear not, avoid none. Now, emotion is a window to our heart, is to learn, to heal, and to grow. And I just like to share a closing story with all of you. This week has been really interesting because I was doing the slides for this talk. My partner's mom just passed away. And in his passing, he was very upset and he felt really ashamed. He felt he wasn't a good son enough, and a lot of regrets. And the most beautiful part was to witness him, not fearing his emotions, not avoiding it, but really just being vulnerable and being with it. And so he told me that going forward, what has he really learned through this whole episode and not being able to go back to his country to visit the mom. And we can't fly out now, because there's not enough time. There's just a lot of complications due to COVID situation, right? So with a lot of empathy as well, and as he shared, there's so much learnings for me and how I could be a better person, be less self-centered, how I'm going to go forward and live my life in certain ways, how I'm going to be a happier person, so on and so forth. So my dear friends, our emotion is a window to really our heart. There's so much we can learn, through every experience that we go through, humbly, to heal from it and really to grow. And even for myself, as my partner shared this with me, I too asked, okay, how can I be a better daughter too to my own parents? How can I also through his experience? This was emotionally sad for me as well, right? And what are the learnings for me? Okay, so with that, there's really nothing to be afraid of. Make a friend with your emotions. So with that, I thank all of you for making time this afternoon to learn a little bit more about tips on how we can deal better with our own emotions. Okay, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed the session. Let me just take a look at some of the questions and feedback here on the chat box. Okay, wow, that's quite a number. Right, if you have any questions, then feel free to type inside.